Welcome to my Riverside special. And we're going to have Jeremiah Drake on, the director of Theater of the Oppressed and long-term friend, the person that made me realize my abilities. And because of him, I am here now.
I help vets out in my free time. And there was one young man or one person who's at Riverside, and the government had taken his benefits away. I mean,
Why?
He went out and got a job. He went out because he was bored and he worked part-time. They found out and they said, sorry, you weren't supposed to be working.
Oh my goodness.
They cut his benefits in half, and then they said, you're going to be paying back this money even in your grave.
Oh my goodness.
You know, they were, it was just horrible the way they treated him. And by the way, he had, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he had congestive heart failure. All of this stuff in the government. So I took his case to Charlie Rangel's office, and I met with the veterans rep, and I explained, look, the government has given him a death sentence, and he's served his country and all that. And they looked at everything, and they made some phone calls, sent some letters, and so what happened was his caseworker, she called him up one day and said, you know, are you sitting down? And he goes, why? She said, you need to sit down. And she said, all your benefits have been returned. Everything has been returned, and you're going to get all your money back, and they're going to put your...
How long was the time from which they took it to when they gave it back?
I'd say about 3 months, 4 months.
Oh, that's
he
not
came
bad.
to me.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm an
that's not
activist.
bad.
I believe it is so important to be, every citizen should be an activist in their own right. Do whatever they can, as we are just discussing here. Voting is so critical. It's how you play the game. But even beyond and above that, if you have an issue, go see your congressperson. Go see, you know, the assembly man or assembly woman. Go make contact with these people. Go to their offices. And if you have an issue, you know, these folks are there. They represent us. It's not the other way around. So we have to get engaged.
I noticed, because ever since I got my badge here from MNN, it's like when I go lobbying, when I go to Albany and stuff like that, I go as I'm the people's reporter.
Right. And therefore, they're going to let you in.
Right, absolutely.
Why?
And,
because you represent potential votes.
You have access.
I go to
Right.
courts now. I say I'm the people's reporter. I'm here for the people.
That's
you know, and
they listen there. They're going to let you in. Yeah, and it's a very good situation with Theater of the Oppressed being worked into the Human Resources Administration, because the city already has something called participatory budgeting, where the citizen can participate in the budgeting issue. That began in Brazil. Porto Alegre, my Portuguese isn't so good, but it started in Brazil, that concept of participatory budgeting. And of course, Theater of the Oppressed was begun by in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. There's a Center for the Study of Human Rights. Augusto Boal is the founder of it.
What does that participatory budgeting thing do?
It's just as it says. The citizen can participate in the budgeting process.
Yes.
They can offer their...
As a matter of fact, I got an email not too long ago from one of my state legislators, basically saying these are things we can budget towards. And they gave you multiple choices.
Right.
And they said pick 3 of the 6 that you think we have this much funding, we can put in these 6 different projects, and pick 3 of the 6. What do you think it should go most important? There's like a playground, air conditioning in a school, renovating a basketball court, something. So participatory budgeting is where people can participate in determining where the money goes.
Where the money goes, and
I remember something like that in my area. But I forget what district I'm. District 7.
But now we're putting theater into it too. The organization of human actions in time and space. And some of the things we're working on is Well, how do you behave when you go for a job interview? I mean, a job interview is very similar to an audition.
Absolutely.
That an actor does.
That's
I mean,
right.
You have to dress for the occasion. You're showing your potential employer how you talk, how you move, how you speak, how you handle yourself.
Yeah, you
Everything on the
perform.
resume is very important. You can have a sterling resume, right? But if you come in acting like a jerk, you're not going to get
Correct.
it. No matter how good that resume is.
Or even not acting like a jerk, but even acting not like yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Not acting like yourself.
Bringing your best features and embellishing those.
Yeah,
That I think
definitely.
catches a person's eye.
It certainly does. So now we're bringing theater. The participatory theater is now being integrated into the human resources, social services, job search training for people. And we'll be training the trainers. Now, Theater of the Oppressed is also taught in some of the universities and colleges, but it's called applied theater. That's the word they use because, we don't want to use that word, oppressed, you know. So they got rid of that. You remember Julia, who does, she's one of our actors in the Theater of the Oppressed, and she just graduated from City College with a degree in applied theater. Yeah.
So what is she doing with it?
I don't know yet. I'm going to be getting in touch with her because I'll need other people who can do Theater of the Oppressed, aka applied theater, because I intend to spread it around the other locations, the job search agency locations with the HRA. So, and also to train the trainers. How do you treat people who may come in on a Monday morning? They're mandated to sit in a room. Do you yell at them? One lady said, "I don't care, you better not tell me your dog ate your paperwork. You better sit down. You better be ready for this." And she's really being like a drill sergeant. And guess what people are going to do? They're going to shut down. They're just going to shut down.
Absolutely.
And that, and so when I came in, they figured, okay, I was like the substitute teacher, you just phase them right out. So I come in and I accept it. I don't get bent out of shape. I'm respectful, and I start engaging in the techniques of TO. Sooner or later, I had the whole room, all engaged, and so it's really a revolutionary and evolutionary time when it comes to the arts and in the city. With Theater of the Oppressed going into it, and not strangely enough, but fortunately enough, Julia had wandered into our church. She came in with her father because her father said, "I want to see the great Riverside." Dr. King had been here, so she tags along with her dad. Her father was a minister, and so she comes along and she reads in our weekly newspaper a little life of the community form paperwork, a pamphlet, in other words, and she sees Theater of the Oppressed. And so she was like trying to figure out where she was going to go next in life. She was 26 at the time, 25. And so she says, Theater of the Oppressed. So she comes to the workshop and she engages with everyone so well. She has a wonderful time. She brings her old high school from Minnesota, to one of our workshops, about 30, 40 kids and the teachers.
What?
Yeah, we had a great time. And because of our workshop, she says, this is what I want to do for my life.
Really?
And now she just graduated, as I said, from City College
that's great.
a degree in applied theater, which is Theater of
I'd
the
like to
Oppressed.
meet her.
Yeah, you know Julia.
Well, I want to read her.
Yeah, have her come on your show.
Yeah, see what she's doing now.
Yeah, I've gotten
Before and after
in touch
kind
with
of
her,
thing.
yeah. The through line of staying out of trouble. It makes me think of the kids in the Bronx the other day who killed that young man, Junior.
Yeah, it was
that
awful.
everyone. It's just awful. And now you see these kids doing the perp walk, the perps, the perpetrators, these young men who killed Junior, and you see them doing that perp walk, and I say to myself, if only they could have foreseen the through line of action. The through line of action is a theater term. It's where you see the beginning, middle, and
the
end
end
of a play. You have to have that in your mind as an actor when you're performing. And for me, it helped me in life when people have tempted me, and I was about the same age as these young men when I was tempted to do something in the military, like sell government property. In my case, this guy tried to get me to sell a parachute that he had in his truck, which was totally illegal.
Right.
Selling government property? Oh my God, the military. I would still be in Leavenworth. And this was years ago. I was 19. And so he tried to get me to do something, and I saw in my head.
It was your parachute?
No, he stole it. He took it from, I don't know, supply, somehow, military
and he wanted you to sell it?
He said, go in here. He was an older guy, and he was cool, had been to Vietnam, and I was like trying to impress, because young men and women can be led astray by some of the older kids, basically, older people, because they're trying to fit in, they're trying to, be liked by the group. We call them gangs, but they're trying to be liked and appreciated. But sometimes you will be asked to do something that could have tragic consequences. And so he go in here and sell that parachute, and I saw in my head, I saw everything. I saw the pawn shop owner calling the cops, the MPs, military police. I saw us being stopped. I saw him fingering me. He stole it. I saw myself in court being with the owner of the pawn shop saying, yes, that young man sold me the parachute, and
so what happened?
And I didn't do it. I was like, sorry, pal.
Did he wind up selling it?
I don't know. I just see you later.
Well, I had similar experiences in my life where when I was young, I took chess lessons, and the teacher, first thing he taught me was the end game. Not the beginning, not the middle, but the end game.
How's it going to end?
How's it going to end?
Yeah.
And if you have an advantage, how do you win on that advantage?
How you win?
Even if it's just by the slimmest of advantages. So that's similar to you. You have to see the end game.
The beginning, I did. I saw that end.
Right.
Which was imprisonment, for selling that parachute. And I just wish younger people could see the end game, or see the through line of action. And it's so critical. But it's too late. They've ruined their lives, and they've taken the life of a wonderful young person.
Yeah,
it's quite tragic.
It's awful.
So then, we have so much to do to help.
It was mistaken
person,
identity.
Right,
yeah, it was mistaken identity. Yeah. But no one would have been the right identity. No. In other words,
even
because what they had planned. Even if it was the right person, these kids they used machetes. I mean, it's like, come on. We have to somehow reduce this propensity for violence in our young people and in our society. And that's what, I guess that's what we're all here for.
Right, and as we talked about before, it's all about opportunity. I think what happens, a lot of young people get lost to shuffle, and their environment is not giving them the tools that they need to avoid those situations.
The co-founder of Facebook, Chris Hughes, and he has a book out called Fair Shot. And it talks about a guaranteed income for people. People who make less than a certain amount of money at the poverty wage, in other words, if people were given $500 a month guaranteed income. And studies show that it would increase or stimulate the entrepreneurial spirit. It would keep people on a better track in life if they had a guaranteed income. Now, some people would say, these folks are going to go out and do drugs and drink beer and what. Not all of them. Some, of course, will, because people do it now. But for the most part, it would provide just a stable platform or a base salary so that people could use that money to help themselves. And it's also for people who are doing non-traditional work.
To move yourself up. It's like you can't go below that, but you can always go higher.
Right.
Yeah. But it just...
And I think, Jeremiah, could talk more about maybe doing that among the veterans first.
Yeah, and I was talking about...
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it was like if we could get it for veterans, a guaranteed income for vets who are making less than the poverty rate, which in the United States is like $12,000.
Right, which is very low to begin
Yeah,
with.
very low a year. And so if people could be veterans who served the nation and all that, if they could be given a guaranteed income every month of anywhere between $500 to $800 a month, it would really bring these veterans up above the poverty line and help with maybe some of the issues of veteran suicide. But I see that as a way of helping to generate.
Is that like very high now, or what?
Yeah, some reports say it's
right?
20. Yeah, some say it's 20 veterans a day.
Wow.
Really?
Kill
Oh, my
themselves.
goodness.
Yeah, which is like really quite a high number. Due to issues of poverty, of PTSD.
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit like not only the poverty but the PTSD all combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, many different issues.
Well,
going
poverty
on.
is crazy making. In
Yeah,
and of itself,
and
it'll
then-
make you crazy to
And
be
then if
poor
you got
when
things going on in your head from
Yeah.
the war and stuff, like
yeah,
that
and you
makes
don't
it
even have to
worse.
go to war per se. You don't
No.
have to be in the war theater. War, what's that called? The theater of war.
You just have to be in a traumatic situation.
Yeah, it's a
and you
traumatic
can't be
situation,
PTSD
exactly.
with it,
Yeah,
etc. outside, right.
PTSD. I didn't go to Nam, but I had I had a horrible parachute accident. I was shot at in the military because I was protesting how black servicemen were treated, and I was ready to sacrifice my life. I said, I know they're going to kill me. I knew they were going to kill me. It was just by the grace of God that I'm living here, right, sitting here. I was threatened. I almost did 10 years in Leavenworth.
10 years
Hard
for what?
labor.
Hard
I
labor.
got caught with books.
You got caught with books?
2 books I got caught with.
2 books?
The Armed Society by Tristan Coffin. I remember the title. The Armed Society by Tristan Coffin. It is a treatise. It still is. The book is out there, out of print, I'm sure. But it's a treatise on American militarism. And here it is. I'm in a military making machine, the 82nd, and I'm reading a book that was, just
So that
contrary
book was
to
banned?
it was material I wasn't supposed to be reading. Also, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, which is at the time was considered counterculture. And we look at it now, it's like harmless. But back then it was hippies and all that. I didn't know. I was like 19.
How
I
did
went
they
into
find
town.
these books?
I was talking to other soldiers. I was like, hey man, check this out. Check what this guy says.
You were showing it to people.
That's called possessing and disseminating subversive literature and ideology in the barracks.
You was a
How
real
did I
rebel.
know?
Right.
I didn't
They
know.
could have had you
Right,
That's
shot.
how the law
That's
can
not in the
get you.
orientation, right?
It's not in the orientation. I was like, hey, Jimmy, check this out. And he'd go, wow, man.
They
And
coulda
then
had
he
you
might go to
shot.
another guy, check. You bet. So one day I'm sitting in my room in my barracks at Fort Bragg, and bam, the door is broken in. Here comes the MPs.
Broke them in.
Yeah, they searched my room. They tore my bunk up, and they got the books. And they take me, eventually I was ordered to go to a colonel's office, and I don't know the colonel's name, it's so long ago. And I walk into the room, and I'm shaking like a leaf. I was like, oh my God, geez. And he goes, Drake, yeah, I hear you're a reader. And I figured, okay, maybe it's not so bad. I hear you're a reader. Then he goes, you blankety blank readers are the worst thing that could happen to this military machine.
boy.
Where did you get this material? And he's standing up, he's spitting on me and everything, by yelling in my face. He says, I got enough to send you to Leavenworth for 10 years of hard labor. And he gave me read me my rights and blah, 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 which were none, because I was in the military. And I was court-martialed.
They court-martialed you?
Heck yeah. I had a trial and everything. And I had to get a lawyer. I had a captain who was a lawyer. I went to the servicemen's committee. The Quakers helped me. They had someone, the Quakers, and they have a servicemen's committee. And,
So what happened?
Service committee, yeah. everything was thrown out. My lawyer was, I was like, I was just trapped in this huge machine. I had no idea what was going on at the time.
You're 19.
I was 19. I was like, what did I do here?
Right.
I was just trying to do the right thing. They were treating me like crap because I was black. I mean, God, you know? It's like, geez. And so during the trial, I mean, I was a kid. And so my lawyer, he said, he gave me a giant bag of M&Ms. And he gave me a pad and a pen. And he said, here, eat these and just doodle. He says, I got this. So I'm doing that. He was a captain, so I did what he said.
Right.
He followed orders. I'm eating M&Ms and I'm doodling. So he's going on during the trial, and he's like, my client here, look at him. He's innocent. And I guess I look like what I was, a kid. You know, he used theater.
Were you eating the M&Ms?
I was eating the M&Ms. He used theater, the organization of human actions in time and space. He used theater to get me off. And I didn't realize until years later. I said, oh my God.
Did he show them your doodling?
No, he didn't. I was just sitting there doodling, eating M&Ms. And he showed that, yeah, this guy's caught up. And they all knew the military was so racist. The military was like, it was horribly. Anything that society does, the military does it 1 billion times better. So if it's about racism, it's the worst kind of racism possible. Plus, everyone has access to weaponry. And even though you turn your weapon in, all this weaponry gets out into the general population. So you have all these weapons, everyone's loaded, you go into town, you can buy weapons, everyone's a gun nut.
Right.
You know, especially at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That was my job. I was a light weapons expert. I was trained to kill. And so this was all turned on me, and I was just really lucky. I had a parachute accident and a jump out. So I don't know if someone tampered with my chute or not, but I had what's called a Mae West.
What's a Mae West?
A Mae West is when the parachute, it doesn't fully deploy, and it's stuck in the center. So it looks like a giant brazier in the sky. You know, Mae West, you know.
I see.
And so, so it looks like a giant brazier and it's flapping. But then it turned into a cigarette roll. And that is when the chute is completely wrapped.
Oh, my goodness.
And so from a distance, it looks like a cigarette coming down in the sky. And so
And how high were you when this?
I was like maybe 2,400 feet.
2,400
When you talk about
feet.
parachuting, it's not that high because some people go 1,400 feet, but this is combat jumping. So it's not like you're going to take your time getting down to the ground. So, but it like 2,000, something like that. And so, but what happened was the training kicked in. They train you. You go through a 4-week training back then. And so I started pulling the risers, just pulling them, trying to untangle the chute. And they said at about 200 feet or so, I had enough. I caused one side of the chute to open up enough to slow my descent. And then I landed in wet sand face first, and I landed face first because what happened was I pulled my reserve chute. I pulled the reserve, and you're spinning when you're coming down. You're spinning, and you have to throw it up the right way. You've got to throw it up that way when you're spinning this way in a proper way, so that you throw it this way.
To shoot the other way.
Right? Yeah, I forget. In other words, if you're spinning this way, you got to throw the chute that way,
right?
So that it comes up like that. But what I did, I threw it this way, and while I was spinning that way,
same way. Oh, that's not
and
good.
then the chute wrapped around my head.
Oh my goodness!
And so I didn't know what the heck was going on. I just saw white silk because the parachute, the reserve chute is white, the main chute is green. So all I could see was white silk here, and I'm pulling the risers. I thought, this is it, I'm dead. And so they said, as I said, all I knew is I woke up in a hole because I landed in wet sand face first. And I went
So
about
it was
that
lucky
deep.
it was wet sand.
At an angle too.
That's part of the both, right?
That's the only way I survived.
But if it was on hard land, you'd
If
have
it
been
had
a
been
pancake.
a hard surface, or if I hadn't skid, in a sense, like 3-4 feet or whatever it was, I probably would have been killed. We called it crash and burn. When a paratrooper is killed in that way, and it happens all the time.
So you don't know if somebody did that to you or it was just an accident?
I don't know.
Don't you pack your own chutes?
No, they used to. They're called riggers. They don't do that anymore. The riggers, it's a whole different class of paratroopers called riggers. But there was a time when paratroopers packed their own. I think it was more than likely it was an accident. Because I figured, how could they do that? How could you plan that unless someone packed my chute the wrong way? But how would they know it was going to go to me? I could have
so you just get it like assembly line.
Yeah, when you're getting your equipment.
Okay.
But who knows? The fix may have been in.
If they really,
I was writing a lot of
want
letters.
you, there's a way.
I was writing a lot of letters. But before I, end on this part, I'll say there's at the back of your parachute, there's this little tiny string that you look at, and it's called an 80-pound test cord. All paratroopers want their buddy to look at that little bitty string. That little string is everything. Why? Because it attaches the apex of the parachute to the static line. They come together like that, and then that little bitty string is tied around the two. All right? Then it's all stuffed in the parachute so that when you jump out, you fall for 14 feet and the static line pulls your chute out, and then 80 pounds of pressure snaps that cord and you separate from the aircraft. Yeah. So, but I don't know. I don't think anyone they didn't tamper with my test cord, but all that is to say that when you do stand up, there is a risk of like you're going to get arrested. You just have to go. You have to accept that. You can't say engage in civil disobedience and say, well, okay, now I want to get out of jail for free card. No, you have to go along and get arrested with everyone else. Mm-hmm. You have to do that. That's the price you pay for civil disobedience, and it's a price well paid.
I'm still learning about you. Once again, world, we've had another great show, and we want to thank Jeremiah Drake for his talented stories, his stories about Theater of the Oppressed, his stories about the paratrooping times, and everything else involved. I'm still learning things about him to this day, people.